YouTube won Coachella this weekend, no question. We're talking 40 plus million viewers in a single weekend, and they monetized all of it. If you watched for free, you saw ads. If you didn't want ads, you paid for premium. Either way, YouTube got paid. So now the real question is, will any streaming audience go free with ads just to compete and try to take over something like Coachella? Because if you don't, YouTube already owns live streaming. Exactly right. Yeah, no, they absolutely dominated. I feel like it was really innovative. This weekend, I didn't have really much time to watch Coachella, but last
Hmm.
weekend, I was really shocked at John, you put it in the title,
Hmm.
Couchella. It's the real deal. Like it
Hmm.
feels like it's really interactive. The way that they film it is fantastic. Like it's kind of like the Super Bowls of concerts
Hmm.
where, you have a bunch of different acts. You can kind of choose your way through them.
Hmm.
It's very theatrical, and it's just a one-stop shop for it. And great overall experience. You don't have to deal with, the food prices. We'll get into
Hmm.
those. You don't have to deal with, I've seen plenty of videos about those showers going on at Coachella.
Yeah.
There's just, just the crowds and the
Hmm.
traffic. If, it would be a absolute blasphemy of an event to attend. But if you can't, this is the perfect consolation, the way that
Hmm.
they have it all broadcasted. So I completely agree. And then YouTube did a fantastic job of all of this. And then you get free advertising from Bieber. He's
Hmm.
going up on stage, he's searching through YouTube.
Hmm.
And, I read a little bit more into it. And like, if you really, know Bieber, know what he's kind of about,
Hmm.
like YouTube is where he got his big
Yeah.
break. He was kind of discovered there. He blew up there. I remember when, his first music was coming out and just the insane views he was getting, setting records. And then Baby was
Hmm.
what it achieved, the most disliked video of
Yeah.
all time, and that's just pure haters. But still, the views were insane. Um, and now everybody loves the song. It's
Hmm.
like I think six of the top 10 most played iTunes songs at the moment are literally all Bieber songs. So,
Yeah.
his comeback from Coachella is absolutely insane. He did it the right way,
Hmm.
minimalistic form, but if you have a good understanding of it, it all makes sense. And YouTube again taking advantage of it all. The Tig mentions it perfectly. It's all the live streaming. A lot of people left other platforms to join it, and it's been produced great results. I feel like just how big it's gotten, the other things that you can watch on it. A lot of people post on there, your favorite content creators,
Hmm.
favorite podcast, Banter on the Rocks posts on there.
Hmm.
It's just a one-stop shop. So yeah, genuinely curious who goes, you know, ads but make it free. Doesn't seem like Netflix will. I think that they just did another price hike, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Oh, they did.
Um,
I got the email.
yeah, same. I just choose to try to erase it from my memory
Yeah.
because I know I'm going to pay it. And, it's just one of those things. And I think, even with their ads, I think it's like 14.99 a month with ads. And it's like, man, no matter what, I'm not paying for ads.
Hmm.
So, yeah, let's see who does it. Honestly, YouTube, I appreciate it for more than, multiple things. It's just another thing to put it on top is hopefully
Hmm.
they can be a driving force to help kind of cap a lot of, the expenses to
Yeah.
remain on streaming.
Yeah, no, I think they will. I don't know who will ever take over this because I'm trying to think like every streaming service now. Before the value of streaming was there was no ads. Netflix,
Hmm.
everything, no ads. You paid for it, you got your movies, you got your TV shows. But now it's like they've all created these ads, and now it's like, oh, you want no ads? Well, you're already paying $25. Pay an extra 15, you'll get no ads. And it's like, come on, you guys, like you're taking away of what made streaming service. So I think what YouTube is doing is genius, or they've been doing it for a long time.
Hmm.
YouTube Premium, I don't know exactly when that started. I know YouTube has YouTube TV, but it's totally different, I think, from YouTube.
Hmm.
But what they did this weekend, I was looking at the numbers, and like I say, I was watching both weekends of Coachella, and it was awesome. The production, I don't know if it's YouTube doing that production, if it's YouTube in collaboration with Golden Voice and Coachella doing the production, but the videos were great, you know. All the live streaming was good. It wasn't just like an angle of just one thing. It had multiple angles. At times there were some that I saw like drone footage, you know, going
Yep.
through the crowd, going in the air. Like it was perfect TV for Coachella. And like I say, all the moments, all the big moments in Coachella, you saw them on YouTube. So who's gonna try to compete with that? I think someone should try to sort of see because you'll still make money. Like I say, a lot of people probably paid for YouTube Premium because they didn't want to deal with the ads during Coachella. They didn't want uh, a break during Justin Bieber's song because those 3 minutes could be, you know, a special person coming out to sing a song. You know, could have been that Billie Eilish moment this past week where you missed it because it had to go into its ad. So it's like people paid for premium. You know, are they going to cancel it? Yes, a lot of people will. Some people may forget and get charged for 2 months before they cancel. But like I say, but
Hmm.
you're giving that option that you could watch this for free, but you're going to have to go through a lot of ads. You aren't going to be able to skip everything or pay money, get it for free. I think one
Hmm.
streaming service should compete because if you do, you might be able to take over Coachella or take over other music festival weekends, Stagecoach, EDC, Ultra, Lollapalooza, all these other ones. Like I say, I think it's all YouTube exclusives, but man, start putting it out there, and then Golden Voice will be like, all right, YouTube, you know, HBO, who's gonna pay me more to get the streaming to get these rights of this video? You know,
Hmm.
one of them's gonna pay a lot more money because it's gonna give them the views. It's gonna put them out there. So it, we'll see what happens. But yeah, YouTube won this weekend. Uh, I saw it with ads. I wasn't ready to pay for premium yet. I don't know what premium really does, so I'll see. Like I said, we're part of YouTube, you could say, because we always put all our videos out on YouTube, so a big supporter of them. But like I said, it'll open up other venues, you know, because if, say, I'm going to go a different one, Peacock ends up being free and ads, you could start having videos like, you know, podcasters going on Peacock because, like, hey, we're giving our video out for free, but there's just ads. And
Hmm.
it's like, and if they pay, then we get like, you know, a portion or whatever, however that monetization goes. But it's like you open up a whole new avenue and whole new revenue for you. Because, like I said, nobody's competing with YouTube because nobody wants to do it for free.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, no, it's the way that they have, their views paid out, just their whole deal. Like
Hmm.
it's what's made YouTube so incredibly successful for years and
Hmm.
years, a couple decades now. And I kind of like before mentioned, leaving other streaming platforms to go join them, it just makes more monetary sense. And, the driving force behind it is higher viewership, bigger audience, and a lot of folks just, willing to still watch a video regardless of the ads. I
Hmm.
feel like I have found myself, willing to sit through ads on YouTube more than anywhere else.
Hmm.
TikTok, I swipe right through them because you can. But, if it's a really interesting video, something I want to watch, yeah, I'm gonna stay tuned, stick with it. And it's kind of, rare to say these days. So yeah, YouTube's got it down pat. How long have they been broadcasting Coachella the way they've done it this year?
Um, I know it was here. It was around last year. I can't remember if it was the year before that too.
Okay. Because it seems like, it still seems fresh.
Hmm.
Even if they did it last year and, maybe even the year before,
Hmm.
this it's a great product. I think it's just a great way to continue to watch it
Hmm.
because, things like EDC, you don't, maybe you get it through like somebody live streaming themselves on a personal
Hmm.
channel, but you don't really get it like this. So
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. It
Yeah.
literally feels like Super
Yeah.
Bowl of music.
And I think EDC does it with YouTube now too. I think they did
Do
it
they?
last
Okay,
year as well. So, like
great.
I say, it's something I think we're gonna start seeing more. So that's what I'm saying. Like the market is out there for these concerts, these events to be live streaming. Because I think the one I watch a lot is the one in Europe. Um, Not EDC. What's the one? Tomorrowland. That
Moreland.
one,
Yeah.
I think they live streamed that one too, and that's one I like to watch because, like I say, I think bucket list. That's my number one music festival to go to. But like
Hmm.
I say, there's a market out there for it. But like I say, all these companies, they're not gonna go to Netflix to partner. They're not gonna go to Amazon to partner because it's like for people to watch it, they already have to pay a subscription fee. And what's
Hmm.
so great about YouTube is like people could watch it for free and you get so many eyes. You're getting a lot of recognition, which, like I say, when it's awesome events like this, people are going to want to go next year. So you're going to be able to up your ticket prices. These
Hmm.
artists, too, it's like they're putting on an awesome show that everybody can see for free. People are going to want to partnership, collab with them. Their next concert's going to get great revenue because it's fresh in their memory of like how awesome they were at,
Hmm.
Coachella, EDC, whatever it is. So, like I say, it makes sense, and I think a streaming service has to try to compete because, like I say, YouTube does great, but I think there should be more competition in that type of setting.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. You mentioned, somebody like Peacock.
Hmm.
It's an NBC owned
Hmm.
platform, correct? And when you go on their website, they kind of give you the option to almost like browse like kind of like a cable television style
Hmm.
where, it's like different channels, what's on at certain hours. And, I kind of like that feature of it. And it feels like, maybe that service might have a good chance at
Hmm.
doing it because with others, I guess they're kind of getting there here and there, but
Hmm.
um yeah, I don't know. It just kind of depends on like who can kind of be a little bit more innovative and kind of
Hmm.
create, I don't know, a certain section for, live concerts, an easy way to play it back if you miss it.
Yeah.
But again, you're still forking over money for it. And what's great about YouTube is you can go subscribe to literally anything or anybody and no cost to you. So,
Yeah.
of course, some creators make, paywalls on certain videos and stuff, and that'll happen. But for the most part, everybody, just has it open.
Hmm.
You can go
Yeah.
watch it, just face through um, the ads of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. Because like one thing I'm looking at right now, just how Netflix podcasts are doing, because a lot of podcasters went
Yeah.
from YouTuber where there was for free to signing a contract with Netflix. So, um, seems like they aren't getting the same amount of views. But like I say, the big thing is, they're getting that contract, you know. It's all there. Whereas with YouTube, you have to rely on your loyal fans to continue watching, continue supporting. Um, but yeah, it seems like YouTube is still dominating and Netflix still very far behind. So, like I say, I think if Netflix was free and then you sort of contract with a podcast like, hey, come to my channel, you're gonna find ways to make money. Like I say,
Mhm.
I think it'll happen.
Yeah, it's a, it kind of opens up another thing. I'm glad that you kind of talked about,
Hmm.
I guess viewership of how they're doing on Netflix.
Hmm.
Because then, I understand the contract deal and I'm
Hmm.
sure, Netflix is forking over an immense amount of money to make it, worth their while.
Hmm.
But the thing you got to think about is, the audience retention and like how many of those audience members are staying loyal to your 20-minute videos on YouTube
Hmm.
versus, your full podcast not being there
Hmm.
anymore. And, how many of those viewers are watching a portion of the podcast, the whole podcast on Netflix, and then going back to
Hmm.
watch, something else on YouTube. I'd say
Hmm.
it's much less when you have kind of having to go back and forth through things
Hmm.
versus, hey, I just watched half of this podcast episode and oh, I was surfing through the sidebar and saw
Hmm.
that 15-minute video of something I missed on a previous podcast. I'm gonna go watch that now.
Hmm.
And at least that's where oftentimes my ADD brain can go. It's like,
Yeah.
ah, that's a good one. And then what's cool is obviously YouTube saves your spot. You can go back and rewatch
Hmm.
and pick it up right where you left off, and that's awesome.
Hmm.
Netflix will do the same, but just even having that browse feature,
Hmm.
I think it's super cool because,
Hmm.
a lot of the content we absorb these days is small proportions.
Hmm.
It's people, I know you and I have talked about it. We enjoy, listening to full podcast
Hmm.
episodes and stuff like that. It's great. But a lot of folks absorb it in minute videos, 20-minute videos,
Hmm.
and it's a little bit easier. That's, something that
Yeah.
we've done lately, breaking it up a little bit, make it easier for the viewer to
Hmm.
watch,
Hmm.
topics of our
Stop.
episode, whatever
Hmm.
it might be. But it makes it easier when it's a one-stop shop.
Hmm. It does. So, like I say, it seems like it's still Netflix in the early stages with podcasting. But
Hmm.
like I say, I think whichever streaming service, because I don't think there will ever be another YouTube. I think Twitch is the next closest, but that's sort of dedicated to gaming,
Yep.
and more things. But like I say, podcasting, talking, it's gonna be YouTube. I don't think there's anybody competing with it. Spotify, I think, is getting up there with some of their video podcasting, but like I say, audio, you could post on YouTube, be exclusive to YouTube, but still be posting on every other single platform. Like I say, we
Hmm.
post mainly on YouTube, but we're also podcasting. Our podcast is on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music.
Hmm.
Like I say, we're everywhere as well. But like I say, our main go-to with the video is YouTube. So
Hmm.
I think whoever decides to go free and then offer paid ads, and like I say, make it make it hard for some people to get through the ads to watch a movie. They're gonna want to pay for the premium
Hmm.
because, like I say, if YouTube was providing me movies and I was trying to watch, Interstellar, and it was always just giving me an ad for like 3 minutes, and I'd be like, "Nah,
Hmm.
I'm paying for that premium." I'm like, I want to watch the whole thing, un untouched with ads. So,
Yep.
let me say, because I still get frustrated with ads on a lot of these streaming services that I'm not going to give them more of my money. Because, like I say, I started without ads. It sucks that they had to take them away, or without ads, and now they added them.
Small amount of childhood PTSD having to have those cliffhanger
Hmm.
moments in movies and then get a damn ad.
Yeah, it is.
It always takes me back to like Disney Channel movies,
Oh
and
yeah.
then the ads are at the worst point. It's like, what? And
Hmm.
I'd sick through those ads though, because I always pretended like I could do the Mickey Mouse ears
Oh
perfectly.
yeah.
But yeah, it's always those times. But hey, back in the day, we were able to kind of sit our butts down and
Hmm.
still watch it, kind of do something, come back to the film. But yeah, if you can kind of make that happen, have good audience retention,
Yeah.
might be onto something.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like it, it it's been done. YouTube does it. Like I say, cable back in the day was somewhat free. You didn't have to pay for cable. Everything was pretty much free with the box. Um, so like I say, it's like and I understand the business. It's about making money. It's about the rich
Hmm.
getting richer, and us others just sort of having to pay for their endeavors and stuff with paying for all these things. But like I
Yep.
say, YouTube is very rich. I don't think they're like the richest company, but they're making billions of dollars. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
like they're doing fine and they're still making it for free. So
Yep.
I think it's something they have to do. I always like I do that like hot tub time machine. You've seen the movie, right?
Yes.
So when one of them stays back and then the others go back into their present, but then the buddy's like all rich.
Yeah.
He found, what was it? Not Nirvana, Guns N' Roses, whatever. But I always
Hmm.
think about it like if I go back to when I was born, knowing everything I know now, the one company, yeah, I'm between two. Is between YouTube and Amazon. I would
Yeah.
create one of those two. At a year old, or once I could talk.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's just one of those things, and then it makes you think like, these times of when, certain content creators got into YouTube and started, posting on there.
Hmm.
I always think of, people who started being like really innovative on that platform and kind of introduced like vlogging to
Hmm.
it. I was always a big fan of like a guy like Casey Neistat. I feel like he got in at a big time, the way that
Hmm.
he filmed his filming style, went around New York. There's always
Hmm.
something to do. I've never been to New York, but seeing it through his lens,
Hmm.
super cool. I enjoy content like that. I think of people like him. There's other people who make goofy skits back in the day and
Hmm.
just went uber viral, ended up getting just a ridiculous amount of
Hmm.
subscribers early on and don't have to work a day in their life now.
Yeah.
They just got in at the perfect time, absorbed the
Hmm.
audience, and did it perfectly.
Yeah.
Amazon, another one. Yeah, you had a few bucks to throw at that stock back in the day,
Oh man.
Good Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd invest in Apple early on, Amazon, YouTube.
Yep.
Man, even Disney when it was before it probably like blew up.
Yeah,
You'd have to put a lot of money in, but even before it blew up, then all these streaming services, like there's so much.
you
Netflix,
bet.
imagine, man,
Netflix.
it'd be good.
Living through their dying days, when
Yeah.
they had some fears of everything and then their innovation with streaming and
Yeah.
getting, exclusive rights to certain actors, like
Hmm.
Adam Sandler and good Lord, look where they're at now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like you said, YouTube won Coachella weekend. Coachella won overall. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But
Mhm.
we'll see who goes free streaming. Someone has to, I think, to compete, but well, it
Yep.
could take a few years.
Banter calls
But
it if they do it.
yeah, but agree or disagree, those are our banter takes for this week. Drop your thoughts in the comments. We always want to hear what you think about our banter takes. But we'll